Hey guys, am I live? Pretty sure I'm live now. Welcome back to the stream. My name's Josh. Cultivate Your Best Self is about seeking a deeper knowledge of yourself, who you aspire to become, and how and why you value time and money. I'm going to say that at the beginning of every single one so that I have it memorized, because that's kind of like my mission here for myself and for all of you. It's always about gaining a deeper understanding of ourselves, because I think that's truly the path towards achieving the most that you can possibly achieve in your life. That for like being able to reach your full potential, you need to understand yourself on a deeper level. So that's what I'm all about here. In this particular live stream, we're going to be talking about goals, which I like to call missions. And I'm going to be talking about some of the things that a lot of what I hear and what I see out in the kind of social media world, there's these kind of prerequisites that I rarely hear about, and you kind of see them there on the screen. But these prerequisites are so crucial for developing a mindset and an intrinsic motivation. And when I say intrinsic, I mean like, motivation from within that kind of like never goes away, as long as you remind yourself of these two things that I have listed as prerequisites for when you start to try and achieve something, or you set yourself a goal. And a lot of the times we tend to focus more on what the outcome is, and we can easily get overwhelmed by the number of steps it might take to get there. And so I'm going to offer kind of a different way of looking at it, and we'll discuss all of the prerequisites, the process that I have here, and I'm really excited to talk about this because this is really big for me. I wrote an entire article on it, and I'll reference the article. I'll kind of go through, and as I go through each of these prerequisites and the process, I'll be referencing the article on the side because they're kind of like my notes for what I want to talk about. So let's get started. Grab yourself a quick drink, or a snack, whatever. Come hang out and let's talk about achieving your goals, and how to not give up on them. Because I'm sure you guys have been there. I've been there. I start something and I don't finish it, and it has to do a lot with clarity and just a deeper understanding of yourself. So let's get into it. So first off, cultivate your best self is a very intentional way of naming my channel. It's going to be the name of my future business. And I say cultivate because I really was inspired by the process that in agriculture, or gardeners, what they go through to grow their crops or grow their garden. It's a long process. It takes attention, daily attention, to really develop the, like, let's say you're a gardener, and you're planting. It could be like fruits or vegetables or specific like flowers that you're really interested in. And it takes planting of the seed. Well, let me take a step back. It takes cultivating the land. You have to get the soil ready. You have to get the soil prepared. You plant the seeds, and then pretty often you have to go and like water them, and it's not that much of an effort, to go in and water them, but you have to do it, if not every single day, you have to do it on a certain frequency depending on what it is you're planting. But you have to do it within a certain frequency so that you successfully grow that into what you're wanting it to be. And that's kind of like the process that I really love for growing ourselves. The goal, or the mission the mission is the seed, and cultivating ourselves in preparation of being able to continuously water that seed so that it grows into what the outcome is that you're looking for. And that's exactly why I decided to call this channel cultivate your best self, because it's a slow, methodical process But over time you grow into and enjoy the fruits of your labor. You grow into like the person that you're aspiring to be. And so that's one of the reasons why I love the word cultivate in general, but like that process, that process is really like a metaphor, not a metaphor, but like it's comparable to what you need to do to achieve your goals. So that's kind of like what I opened up with the article that I wrote, and I'll share the article. Actually, let me share that on the screen. There you go. You guys can still see me? Yeah. Okay. Um, excuse me. So I made sure this time that the battery in the camera. So the last live stream, my battery in my camera died, so the video froze, and then the lighting wasn't charged, so I had to plug that in before. And then I think was it the last one, or no, it was the one before that where my mic was off for like 35 minutes. So I'm I'm starting to develop a process of like a checklist that I have to go through to make sure that everything's kind of going properly, so that things don't malfunction while I'm in the middle of the live stream. So I'm getting better and better each and every day. That's what it's all about. So here I mentioned, I'm going to skip that beginning part, but you're doing goals or missions the wrong way. I'm going to refer to goals as missions from here on out. So you're doing missions the wrong way. Something I learned last year, yes, it still applies, last year from James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, is that goals typically start out with the focus being on the desired outcome. And that's true for almost anyone that I hear talk about wanting to achieve a certain goal. And these are some of the examples that I listed here. I want to lose weight, and I want to eat healthier. I want to get in shape. I want to learn a new skill. Read more, save more money, spend more time with loved ones, travel more. The problem with these is that they're way too vague. You have to get specific, and you have to gain clarity on what the outcome actually is that you want to achieve. When you have a clear understanding of what the outcome is, when you have it to a point where you can say, yes, I've achieved it, it's done, that's the level of clarity that you want to seek out. Because if not, if it's too vague, then there's too much room for error, and there's too much room for you to kind of quit in the middle of the process, because you don't really know what you're working towards. Goals are rarely achieved when the outcome is the primary motivator. And then I have a previous post where I had talked about, there was a study done on the number of people that give up on their New Year's resolutions. And that's like the prime time for setting goals, right? Like it's the beginning of a new year. Like people set goals for themselves. They set themselves New Year's resolutions. And oftentimes they end up giving up within the first week. And I forget what the percentages were, but there was a certain percentage, where people give up within the first week, and then a certain percentage within the first month. And then I forget what it was, like beyond 3 months, it's like a very rare percent, or a very small percentage, like maybe 2.5 to like 5%. I forget. But yeah, basically a small percentage of people never end up accomplishing what they set themselves up for at the beginning of the year. And oftentimes that's because they lose motivation, they don't have enough clarity on what their goal is. So it's a big part of understanding what it takes to be successful to achieve your goals, your missions. Understanding your values. So this gets into the prerequisites. Now, as I mentioned before, Out in the social media world, when people talk about achieving things, I don't see this often enough. And I'm a huge proponent, a huge advocator for developing these two things, because almost everyone that I've seen who is successful exhibits an understanding of these qualities. And some people will outright tell you that they have these two things kind of set, like they're locked in stone. And uh, it wasn't until I read the Learned Excellence book by Eric Potterat. I talk about that book in the first few live streams, but when he mentioned, core values and aspirational identity, and this guy's, he's a performance psychologist, and he's worked with some of the the strongest and most high performing, most disciplined people in the world. When he talks about how important these things are, like I know, I know what I'm talking about. Like, these things are what help people, give them the intrinsic motivation to keep going, to push past when things get tough. So let's talk about values. In the article, I talk about like this image, whether it inspires you, motivates you, does it resonate with you, or does it discourage you? Does it make you feel like there's too much effort involved, or remind you of failure? And that can be kind of a telling sign of where your mindset's at. If you see that and you're inspired by it, it probably means that your mindset is more on the positive side, which is good. It's good for your mental aspect, or your mindset, to be in a more positive to have a more positive outlook. But if you see that and you're like, man, they failed a lot, like I don't know if I can handle that much failure, it's kind of discouraging. Like, all those shots and only one made it to the center, to like the actual target. But the reality is, that's kind of how it is when you're trying to achieve something. You take your shot and you end up missing. And it's the same, it's the same with anything you're trying to achieve. Like, you're not going to be perfect the first time. But the process is, kind of developing yourself so that you get better each time you try something. And eventually you're going to hit your mark, as long as you stick with it, and you trust your process for what it takes to get there. And I'll talk about process in a little bit here, but yeah, so that's kind of like the overall kind of feel I wanted with this image. What are values? Values are beliefs and principles you have that guide your actions. Cultivating your values is critically important when it comes to maintaining consistency. I say here at SIBS, SIBS is just myself, but the core values that drive my mission of getting others to recognize the importance of cultivating their best selves, and how to do it, revolve around cultivating a growth mindset and cultivating impact on the community. I'm here to make a difference in the lives of those who are looking for ways to grow and to seek out their potential. Like, I know you guys are capable of more. Anyone who's watching this, you're capable of more. And sometimes it just takes a little encouragement and a little bit of guidance to get there. But I believe 100% that you have more potential than you give yourself credit for. Consistent growth leads to satisfaction through learning, fulfillment through application into your own life, shared experiences, and teaching others what you've learned. And then there's a higher potential for long-term joy for you and those around you. Some of the things that I hope you guys kind of get out of this is that as you kind of take in what I'm saying and apply it to your own life, that it empowers you to grow in new ways. It cultivates your accountability. You know, your ability to hold yourself to a higher standard by kind of effortlessly cultivating small, consistent progress. And that's really the trick here is, you know, small, consistent progress. We're not looking to make major changes right away because that can be, you know, a little bit too overwhelming. It's the small steps that make the biggest impact. And it reduces stress too. And then balance, you know, maximize your highest level of contribution without burning out or losing motivation. You know, burnout is a huge factor when it comes to people kind of setting out for the first time on something new that they're trying out. And you know, they go all out and they're expecting huge results right away. And you know, when you do that, like you're just kind of setting yourself up for failure. So we want to try and avoid that. Let's talk about aspirational identity. Simply put, your aspirational identity is the person you want to become, your best self, or the version of you at your highest potential, or at least at a higher potential, not necessarily your highest potential. Thinking about getting to that version of yourself can sometimes be too daunting for us to take on. So let's put it in a different context. And then I use this idea that we're gardeners. Remember when I mentioned that in our garden we have different sections, and I don't think I talked about that, but like, you know, I talked about the seeds. You know, the seeds are the missions, the goals that you want to accomplish, and there are different areas in your life. You know, there's health and fitness, and the missions associated with health and fitness. Then you've got relationships, you've got your personal development, or like your hobbies, and then you've got your the financial or your wealth. And each one of these areas are really important for cultivating different missions, but you know, doing all that at once can be kind of overwhelming. So your cultivation missions are the seeds you choose to plant, water, and nurture consistently within each of those areas. And then the aspirational identity you hope to cultivate. Oh wait, what did I say here? Why you choose your seeds? Oh, so how you choose where to plant the seeds, like which area, comes from your aspirational identity, like who you want to become most in the future. So if your immediate goal or like your immediate mission is to become healthier, say, then you're going to want to focus on planting the seeds it'll take to become a more fit, more athletic, you know, whatever it is you're looking to achieve, like that version of yourself. So that's what I talk about with aspirational identity. And I give an example here. You know, let's say health and fitness is the one that I use. Let's say you want to exercise 3 to 4 times a week for 1 month. A seed that's the seed that requires watering and nurturing and contributes to you being fit. Journaling for 2 minutes daily for 1 month. Is this also contribute to health and fitness? I mean, that does contribute to your health, right? Like journaling obviously contributes more to your mental health. But let's say 2 minutes daily for 1 month. That contributes to you being more self-aware. And then meditation contributes to your mental toughness. So I listed those examples that deal with, you know, the health, both physical and mental side of things. But you know, like those are just, you know, 3 examples that you can kind of see like what I mean by getting specific as well in what you're looking to achieve. As your cultivation missions grow, you know, as the seeds grow, you grow into the person you initially wanted to become. And by focusing on watering and nurturing those seeds daily, or you know, every other day, whatever frequency that you set to, let's say, exercise, you know, each time you do it, you're contributing to the person that you want to become. And then that should reinforce your confidence in yourself and your capabilities, allowing you to achieve more. Like the more you go on, the more you consistently do it. And I think it's really important to kind of revisit, like, I think I talked about a study in the past about, how much it increases your chances of accomplishing your goal when you write it down versus when you just think about it. And then how much it increases when you share your goal and like what your target timeline is with a friend. Both of those like greatly increase your chances of actually accomplishing your goal. So I think it's really important with these two prerequisites, core values and aspirational identity, to write them down and revisit them while you're in the process of, um, trying to accomplish your goal, while you're doing the things you need to do to get to what the outcome is that you're looking for. Let me move on to the next. So I have these kind of steps listed out, or this process listed out for. This is kind of what I do for when I want to achieve some new goals, and I use my knowledge management system here. But what I use is like kind of advanced level, and I could totally do a tutorial. Actually, there's already one out there. I'll link it in the description. But the system that I use is so thorough in terms of like gaining the clarity that I need in order to accomplish what I want. What do I want? I can't speak. What I want to accomplish. Let me slow it down a bit. So this process here is a little bit different from what I wrote, but number one is, what is your intended outcome? Number two, what is your very first action that you need to do to get you closer to your goal or to your mission, accomplishing your mission? Number three, systems and processes. You've got to develop either a routine, or you have to have a system in place that will reduce the amount of friction, that will keep you from doing what you need to do in order to accomplish your mission. Number four is understanding that consistent effort equals consistent progress. That's what you're looking for. We're not looking for, extreme changes immediately, like overnight. We're looking for, small, consistent effort over time. And then lastly is, I'll talk about, how to kind of reward yourself and enjoy the fruits of your labor. Once you get to that point where you've achieved your goal, that's when you want to kind of share your progress with someone, or I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it when we get to it. But let's talk about number one, intended outcome. And I'm gonna skip some of what you see on the screen there. Already 6:30, huh? Outcome. Write down what your intended outcome is. Example. After a period of about 6 months of writing one article a week, I will then feel confident in calling myself a writer. As a bonus, the longer I stay a writer, the better chance I have of growing a community of individuals seeking ways to cultivate themselves. Oh, cultivate growth in themselves. This community will be one that lifts each other up and provides feedback and ideas related to the topics discussed in my writing. Now I'm doing this as a live stream on YouTube, but last year, I believe it was I want to say October, November, December. Yeah, I think it was last October that I started writing on Medium, which is a website for publishing kind of your own articles. And I stuck with, writing one article a week for 6 months. And I didn't get the following that I was looking for, but that kind of didn't matter. It was like a process for me to explore. It was an avenue for me to explore, of me becoming a writer, to see if people would resonate with what I'm talking about. And I didn't quite, you know, achieve here. I didn't achieve what I was seeking to, what the outcome was that I wanted. But that's okay. It's a learning process. And now I've left Medium. I mean, I still have the account and everything, but now I'm on X, and I'm sharing all of the ideas in smaller, kind of bite-sized pieces of everything that I've written in these articles. And I'm doing the same now with these live streams. And I have a section in my knowledge management system where I write about these things. I write about what my intended outcome is. I write what I'm looking to achieve. I write down the process for how I want to get there. And for me, doing these live streams, this is an entirely new process, for me to learn too. Like, as I each week, as I go live, I'm taking notes on what worked, what didn't. I look at the titles of my videos. Sometimes I get more views than others, but it's a learning process, and that's just kind of like how it goes when you're trying to achieve certain goals. Sometimes you can't get there. Sometimes it doesn't work out the way you want, but that's okay, because regardless, it contributes to your growth. And as long as you can learn something and take away something that you can improve for the next time, then it's a win. It's a win in my book. First action. Write down the first action you need to take to move your mission forward. This small step is crucial for gaining momentum and transitioning to what I call level 1, which starts with the systems and processes. When I was reading David Allen's book, Getting Things Done, and that book is it's a New York Times bestselling, I believe. Yeah, it's a New York Times bestselling book. And in that, David Allen talks about when he helps people try to come up with clarity for what they want to achieve. Coming up with that very first action is what he tells them to do, and people have trouble coming up with it. It's surprising, but let's say like someone has a toothache. If you had a toothache, what do you think would be like? What's your very next action to take care of it? And some people will think like, oh, I need to go to the store and buy some of that stuff that you can put on it so that it kind of relieves it. Or I need to not have so much ice. Or they come up with all these things that don't necessarily contribute to them resolving the issue. And he helps. What he says is that like sometimes people need help with coming up with what that first action is. And so, if you're one of those people that has trouble coming up with what that first action is, just try and be like, just simplify it. Like, what is like this, like the stupidest, like simplest thing that you could do that contributes to, what that action is. And like in that example that he gave in the book, basically what he told the person was, you need to pick up the phone and dial the number of your dentist and schedule an appointment. That's step number 1. Like, that's the very first thing you have to do. And the person like could not come up with that. Like, they were coming up with other things to do that wouldn't resolve the issue, or it would like temporarily relieve the issue, but not necessarily solve it. And there was a number of examples that he gave of like people just having trouble coming up with what that first step is. And so it'll take practice sometimes, or you can like ask someone trusted, like a friend or family member, of what they think your first action or your first step should be. But yeah, it's crucial in just like identifying what it is and then taking it. systems and processes. So step one is take that first action, right? Step two, identify a system and process. The first thing I kind of identify here is that you need to choose the best time and location that you'll most consistently be able to identify and implement the very next action. So, for example, if it's your goal to run 4 times a week, then you're gonna like you're going to have to choose when the best time is and where the best location is for how you start that. Hey, welcome to the live stream. Glad you made it. I'm talking about how to stop, giving up on your goals, or like a lot of people have trouble with sticking to their goals or sticking to the process of achieving their goals. And so I'm kind of going through the process of what it takes, or at least like a way that what I go through and how it'll help. Hopefully, it'll help others achieve their goals. But I talked about the prerequisites since you just got here. I talked about the prerequisites, which is like identifying what your core values are and identifying what your aspirational identity is. Like, who is it that you're trying to become, and what are the core values that will support you becoming that person. So right now I'm on process, step 3, systems and processes. But so what I was talking about was I was giving the example of a person who wants to start running 3 or 4 times a week because they want to be fit, they want to be healthier, they want to have more energy, whatever it is. You need to choose a best time and location for when you're going to initiate that first action, which is, I think did I give an example here? The example I gave here was about writing, but the one that I'm talking about is the runner. So let's say the best time for them to run would be after work. And they've had dinner, they've waited, say, an hour, and it's like 6 or 7 p.m. 7 p.m. is, you write down, 7 p.m. I'm going to go for a run. What else do you have to do to be able to stick to that? You have to be able to make it as easy as possible, and how I'll say it is you have to make it as frictionless as possible. I think that's a term that James Clear from Atomic Habits uses. But you need to reduce, everything that's going to make it hard for you to do that. And it might be like, I don't know, a TV show that you've been watching that you really want to watch an episode of, or you get a phone call, Sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice certain things to stick to it. And that's necessary, I think, to a certain extent. It's necessary to make some sacrifices in order to get to where you want to be. And so another example that comes to mind of ways to make it really easy is, let's say in the morning before you go to work, and this is using the same runner example, you get your running shoes, your workout clothes, ready, and you put it in a spot where, like, when it's 7 p.m. and you're ready to run, everything's already like there laid out for you, like your running shoes, your shorts, your shirt, like it's already out. Like, you don't have to make an effort to go to your drawer, pull it out, like decide what it is you're gonna wear. It's already ready to go. That's another example of making the process frictionless, making it easier for you to stick to doing what you say you're gonna do. I say here, and this is, I think, really important, take note of things that make it difficult to take that action. Find ways to reduce them or work around them. The aim here, and I think you guys kind of understand, the aim is to reduce friction in order to make your small, consistent actions easier. Level 2. This is number 4 on my list for the process. Consistent effort equals consistent progress. You're going to continue to evolve and adapt as things change. You know, like sometimes you go for a run and it starts raining, and you may not want to run in the rain. So, if say you weren't scheduled for the day after it rains, now maybe you might consider like going for that run on on a different day because something changed where you had to, or you consider like going to a local gym where you can run on a treadmill instead of running outside. You find ways to work around obstacles that come your way. And Suzanne says, I chose to paint. I'm on my 3rd painting right now. And that's awesome. Like I full disclosure, Suzanne's my mom. She's my number 1 supporter. But I was surprised because I in one of my previous videos, I kind of inspired her to take action on getting her to do something that she's been wanting to do for a long time. And I'm sure there were these excuses that she was thinking in her head of like, why she shouldn't start. But I think she got to a point where, watching one of my videos, like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to pull the trigger and I'm going to like start painting. And I'm proud of her because she's been painting now for the last couple weeks or a few weeks. And she says, I'm on my 3rd painting right now. I was intimidated by it for some reason, but I'm loving it. I never thought I'd be doing this. Thanks for your encouragement. You're welcome. And I love you. But yeah, and the impact that I've had on my mom, like it's inspiring because like I know I've received comments on previous videos from other people as well, who have said that the videos that I put out are their inspiration or motivation to do something that they've never done before. And so that's what I'm aiming for. That's what I'm aiming for with this live stream, with future videos that I put out, is to reach out to everyone who's having difficulties doing things that break them out of their comfort zone or their fear zone, and lead to growth in ways that provide more fulfillment, more happiness, more joy in their lives. Where was I? Oh, so I was talking about consistent effort equals consistent progress. Let me take a quick drink of water. What did I say here? I was talking about there may be periods where family or personal health obligations take priority. That's okay. As soon as you're able, you jump right back into the process you've laid out for yourself. This is a journey of personal growth, not a hard, fast rule you must live by. And that actually leads me to think about a mentality that I've seen with some friends, just in general. A lot of people have this all or nothing mentality. And the all or nothing mentality is, if I can't do it when I say I'm going to do it, then I'm just going to give up on it. And that's the wrong way to look at it, because you're neglecting, or you're preventing yourself from the growth that you need in order to feel, that fulfillment that you're looking for, the joy that you're looking for. And you have to be able to allow yourself some wiggle room, because not everything is black or white. There's going to be gray areas. There's obstacles that come along your way. And it's how you navigate those obstacles and continue on your path towards your mission that allows you to grow in the ways that you're looking for. Revisit the plan you initially created as often as you feel you need to, and refine it if you have to. So, in the example of the runner, if, say, 7 p.m. in the evening after work wasn't working out so well for him, he might decide, he or she might decide to go to bed a little bit earlier so that they can wake up earlier and go running in the morning instead. And in that case, you would want to set up your running shoes, your clothes the night before, so that as soon as you wake up, everything's kind of ready to go. And that's the kind of adjustment that you kind of have to make as you go along. It's important to set weekly, monthly, or quarterly milestones for yourself, depending on the length of your goal. I myself love to set up weekly milestones because I usually have a lot of month-long goals for myself, and some of the ones that I'll talk about here right now include like the number of workouts that I want to achieve by the end of the month, and like, thank goodness, last week I was barely able to sit here. I was in pain because I had injured my back, and I didn't think I was going to be able to sit through the live stream just because sitting, was painful for me and my lower back. But now I'm thankful to say that I was able to go this morning to the gym with my wife and our son. We went to our local gym here in our community, and we just took our son with us because it's a Tuesday, it's empty, and it was just basically the three of us. But we were able to get in a workout, and I felt really good. My back's doing great, and it's kind of thanks to the help of a chiropractor that I went to last week. But I should be able to get back on track for the number of workouts I want to get done this month now. And so I set myself kind of weekly milestones, and I track them, make sure I stay on, I'm meeting each weekly milestone so that I'm on track to reach my monthly goal of getting the certain number of workouts that I want to get in. And doing that contributes to my aspirational identity of being someone who's health conscious, someone who's fit, who has more energy, because a lot of the things that I'm doing requires a lot of energy. I'm waking up in the middle of the night, so I take over the night feedings for my son, but we tend to go to bed pretty early in order for me to get enough rest so that we can go to the gym. A lot of these things, the motivation, the intrinsic motivation that I get comes from my core values and my aspirational identity. And I will never stop preaching those two things because they're, everyone that I know that's successful understands these things about themselves. And when you do, this motivation can come from deep within yourself, and that's really what you're looking for. You're not looking for achieving things because Bob called you fat. You don't want to be working towards a goal because you want to prove Bob wrong out of spite. That's not the type of motivation that can keep you on track. So I don't know why I came up with that Bob example. So yeah. Find little ways to celebrate your progress, whether it's sharing your growth with your significant other, family, friends, or social media. I am growing on X, which is formerly called Twitter, but I'm growing on X, and I've been using that platform to kind of showcase the fact that I'll set up a public goal for myself, and then I'll provide the evidence that I achieved it. And that that can be a way of kind of motivating yourself too. It works for some, not for everyone, but the essence of my motivation comes from my core values and my aspirational identities. And I have multiple aspirational identities. You don't have to cultivate just one. There can be many, and it just takes time to get there. And then lastly, enjoying the fruits of your labor. Once you get to a point that aligns with what your intended outcome was from in this article, it was steps 1 to 3, but here it could be the process 1 through 5. Reflect on the journey that you've had. Who were you when you started, and who are you now that you've accomplished what you set out to accomplish? How does it feel to be in the process of working towards who you want to become, and how have you exhibited the core values that you kind of established for yourself when you first started? I think one of the things that for me is really important is that when you set like a number of times that you do something, to be able to call yourself what your aspirational identity is. Let me give an example, because I feel like I'm sounding kind of confusing. But let's say I want to be an athlete, or I want to be athletic, or I want to be fit. When can I say I'm fit? And I think all it takes is when you stick to the process more often than not. So let's say, I want to work out 4 times a week for a month, and then I'll feel fit. But then, I'll continue that every single month. If, say, in that month, that first week, I've worked out for 4 times, then I feel like I can tell myself, you know what, I'm fit, and I'm going to continue doing it because I'm fit, and I want to stay fit. And telling yourself, telling yourself you are the person that you wanted to become when you're doing the thing that person would do more often than not, then it motivates you even more. Like when I was trying out publishing my own articles, I wanted to feel like I was a writer, and I told myself after 3 months, no, I think it was after 6 months. After 6 months of publishing, and that was just like my standard of what it took for me to feel like a writer. Once I got there, then I feel like I could call myself a writer. I published 1 article a week for 6 months, and that kind of allowed me to call myself a writer. I felt good about it, after I had reached that mission, or accomplished that mission. And then, let's see, over the course of the journey, your journey towards accomplishing your mission, you will exhibit rare qualities like discipline, effort, personal accountability, commitment, and dedication. I think it's so important to recognize that, because it is really difficult for people to stick to their goals, their missions. And if you can do that, you are part of a rare few that has those qualities, and remind yourself of that when you're in that process of doing the thing that you set out to do more often than not. You are exhibiting discipline, effort, accountability, commitment, and dedication to yourself. And when you can do that, I feel like there's nothing that you can't do when you have those qualities. And I say here, that's huge. It's huge. It deserves praise and celebration. Once you reach the outcome that you were initially looking for, what do you do from there? Because sometimes when you accomplish your mission, it can kind of feel bittersweet because now you're not sure whether to move forward, continuing to do it. And for me, there are certain missions I set for myself that are reoccurring. They reoccur every month, and the exercise, managing my finances, things that relate to my dog Luna. There are certain things that I have to keep up with her every single month, and I have in my knowledge management system, I have ways to track all that. But there comes a point where you have to decide what to do once you achieve your mission. What you can do is you can evolve from the aspirational identity that you initially set out to be. You can evolve from there and grow in more ways, or identify new areas in your life that you'd like to cultivate. And I had mentioned before, like the main areas of life are your health, your finances, your wealth, and then your relationships. There are always ways that you can choose different missions in each one of those areas in your life to kind of work on, or work towards becoming a better version of yourself for each one of those areas. And I'll mention those again. It's health, wealth, and relationships. I would think health being number one. There's exercise, there's nutrition, there's working towards getting better sleep. There's so many different ways. And then relationships, there's just finding ways to reach out to your loved ones more often, or find ways to spend time with them more often, kind of setting blocks of time to spend time with your kids. There's a multitude of missions that can align with your values and who you want to be. And then lastly is your wealth. A lot of us want more money, but aren't willing to work for ways to get your wealth to grow. And some of the simplest things that I feel would help people out is just tracking your expenses. If people track their expenses more, when you can visually see where your money is going, it can be shocking sometimes. Like I spend that much on coffee, like holy shnikes, like I need to cut back on the amount I spend because I could be saving X amount of money on the side for a rainy day, or if I lose my job, I'd have an emergency fund. If I'm looking to buy a car or a house, tracking your expenses is kind of like step one, and then setting a budget, step two. The money side of things, wealth wise, there's like a whole multitude of things that you can work towards. And then my mom said, I see the outcome of my paintings and I'm pretty proud of me. I'm hooked. And I love that. I love that she's enjoying herself. She's cultivating joy in her life by doing this thing that she kind of had been wanting to do for a while, and finally pulled the trigger and started doing it, which is great. I think that's it for this one. The timing's perfect, 6:56. Yeah, I have a little summary here, and I think I had these two steps backwards. Oops. I think choosing your values is number one. That's why I wrote it here as number one, as prerequisites. I'm always about understanding your core values. In fact, I think I'm going to be launching a store that has. I'm gonna aim for about 25 core values that are like canvas prints, so that if you're interested, if you've gone through the process, and maybe next time I'll talk about the process of what you can do to figure out what your core values are. I want to launch this store that has canvases that you can purchase so you can hang up on your wall like the core values that you want to exhibit. And I have my 5 main core values, and I've shared this before on a previous live stream, but I have these: health, love, growth, impact, and then the last one you can't see because it's covered up is integrity. Actually, can I can turn this off. Yeah, there you go. Those are my top 5 core values, and I went through the process of actually like kind of writing out like a list of a bunch of different core values of ones that I admire or ones that I want to be an example of, and there are others. They're in my aspirational identities. I have certain core values attributed to them as well, and maybe I can show you an example of that. Do I have that set up here? The athlete. I didn't have it here on the athlete, but I do believe I have it on the YouTuber. Yeah, see, so I have core values here: impact, growth, and authenticity. So it varies depending on my aspirational identity. And I'll probably finish setting those up for the other ones as well, because I obviously like the athlete aspirational identity is health is a really big one there, and better husband, father of the year, all these different aspirational identities that I kind of have set up here in my knowledge management system. But yeah, I'm really excited to launch that store. I'm going to be purchasing a few of them myself just to see like the quality, and if I don't like the quality, I'll probably upload those to a different platform. But I'm really excited to share those with you guys. I think that's it for this one. Keep learning and keep growing.